The hypocrisy of it is just crazy. Listed out a number of questions you wanted to ask me. You said to me, which one did I want to go with? And I said, no, you choose, right? That was the question I wanted you to ask me. That's what the genesis of it all is what you lose from being a kid in terms of injuries, in terms of being from a physiotherapy point of view. Thank you, Runna, because you break more clients than I have ever known of all the apps I have ever known. We lose the variety in which we articulate in the world. I'm not interested in the aesthetics of it. I'm interested in human performance. I'm interested in getting faster, getting stronger, and getting more powerful, because for the clients that I work with now, majority of are 35 plus, right? And they come to me normally with injuries, they come to me normally, but really what they're telling me is like they still want to be a participant in life. They don't want to be a spectator. But they're walking like this into tomorrow, so they don't know what they're getting. They don't know what's coming. And you talk to them about the 4 horsemen of all-cause mortality. So you look at cognitive decline, like dementias and stuff like that. You look at cancers. You look at cardiovascular risk diseases such as strokes and hypertension and cardiac diseases, and metabolic diseases such as diabetes and so on and so forth. Unless it's a catastrophe or like you're getting knocked down by a bus or someone stabs you, the likelihood is you're going to die with one or all of these 4 horsemen of all-cause mortality. So the programs that I look at are kind of like have these in mind, because I speak to my clients about we're all going bankrupt, but a lot of us, 99% of us, don't realize it. So you see a company that's gone bankrupt and everybody goes, Jesus Christ, they went to the wall overnight.
Yeah.
But it didn't, because they had the same behaviors for the last 10, 15 years. They were leaking money, but it wasn't at a critical mass. It wasn't at a critical tipping point until it was. And we're the same. Nobody tomorrow is waking up stronger, more powerful, faster, because they're a day older. So this is where I think your choices do come into, your genes are your genes. But I have the choice today now to work hard on my strength levels, on my power levels, on my balance, because I lose my power first as a human being, right? Because people retire because they're not as fast as they were in their sport. Jeez, I'm after losing that, And then they get into their 40s, they're still strong, but then they're coming into their 50s and they're not as strong. So then they lose their strength.
Yep.
So I've lost my power, then I lose my strength. So I'm becoming more fragile.
Yeah.
And then they get into their 60s, 70s, and they lose their balance, so they fall. So now you can see what's happening here. So you see the power, you see the strength, you see the balance, you see the fragility coming in.
Yeah.
But Jesus, he got awful weak very quickly. He didn't. It was happening, he or she, it was happening since they were 27, 20 years of age. But it just wasn't at a point that it was affecting independent living. It wasn't at a point where they weren't able now to open a jar or tie up the buttons, dexterity to tie up the buttons on their shirt, or being able to sit to stand, or what happens if I fall and I'm on my own. That's it's fragility that takes you out of your home. But for me, personally, like, my quality of life is very much attached to how I locomote through the world. And locomotion is really important to me.
You said something there which I think is interesting. It's something that I say in all of my spin classes. There's a power phase. And I understand power to be strength times speed is a function, a basic equation. And you're describing power going first. And power as a function of strength times speed. What is it that causes power to decrease? Why is it that over age it drops?
So, as I'm sure you're well aware, we have different types of muscles. So we'll have a type 1, a type 2, and a type 2A. And they're not as clearly defined as that. But we it's handy for us to describe them like that. So it just makes it easier for us. So you'll have these like slow twitch muscle fibers, which are your endurance, your anti-gravity muscles, right? Okay, and they are highly aerobic. Okay. And they've got these mitochondria, which are like the powerhouse of the muscle. But mitochondria do a lot more than that. But we'll stick to that. So I just want to make sure that I understand the genesis of mitochondria, and mitochondria change their role depending on the hour and the time of the day. Yeah, it's incredible what they do. Okay. They're like the mushroom society of the world, right? So mushrooms, like, they dictate how the forest behaves, and how the trees behave. And that's what a mitochondria does as well. Hence why mitochondrial biogenesis or degradation related to metabolic diseases, has a huge impact on all this. But anyway, I digress. So, and then we have these other ones which they have the presence, they're quasi anaerobic. And what I mean by that is they've got a bit of oxygen there, but not a huge amount, right? And they're they can contract very, very fast, right? But they're not as much as the other guys, the bigger guys, right? And then we've got these pure anaerobic ones. So they contract without the need for oxygen, and they're short in duration. So we've got these three types of muscle fibers. And as we grow older, right, because we don't sprint anymore, right? So you asked why, right? Here's it's a use it or lose it. Now, there's a caveat to that, right? Okay, it is absolutely a use it or lose it, right? There's no doubt about that. Now, some people are to just hold on to it for a lot longer. You look at a guy, he's never been in the gym, he's like that. Yep. They're like, oh my God, genetically, right? Okay, he's blessed, he or she is blessed. But for the most part, right, for every human being, at some point, right, these type 2 and type 2A, they get smaller in size, so the volume decreases, and the number of them decreases as well. The number of them decreases because a lot of them will now start taking up the profile of a type 1, a more aerobic, because that's what we do most now. We do most, I went for a walk, I went for a jog, I did my training, but none of it was all out effort. None of it was at speed, so I don't need those tissues. So there was no necessity to keep those tissues. No. They're redundant. And if something's redundant, it gets stiff, it doesn't, you're not growing it, you're not encouraging it, you're not, so we lose them. So for me, a huge part of my training now is based around all-out efforts. Yeah. Which is crazy dangerous.
So why do you do it?
Because I want to keep as much power as I possibly can do, because number one, I want to continue playing Gaelic football for the Masters, right? And I know that speed is the most important characteristic now. For me to be fast, I need to have a stimulus. I need to have a stimulus which is going to encourage that. And to encourage that, which means that I'm going to have to sprint at least twice a week. Yeah. But with that sprinting, there's a big risk of injury, calf injuries, soleus injuries, hamstring injuries. I try and mitigate the risk by having a soft launch in terms of like building up my sprints in terms of the effort I have, and also like doing it over a longer period of time. There is a wealth of science out there as well in terms of like the health benefits, the longevity benefits of all-out efforts. You've got your Norwegian 4x4 in terms of mitochondrial biogenesis, and we touched upon the myriad roles that mitochondria play within it. So I do it because I feel the overall net effect is positive and very important, but the risk is high. And I don't like absenteeism. Absenteeism is another word I use for injury. Absenteeism is catastrophic for health and longevity. So getting injured in your 40s and 50s is catastrophic.
When you use absenteeism, could you just define it as you understand it?
Okay, so I define it as a period of time when you're unable to train or move or do your gym workout or you're running or whatever because of an iatrogenic injury. It might be iatrogenic or not. Iatrogenic means that I caused it myself, my actions. So I decided to do the sprints. Maybe I did too much too soon and I caused it to myself. So that's an iatrogenic injury. So it's when I'm forced out of my training, right, which is based around strength, power, injury resilience, and I'm forced out of it because I simply cannot do it because of injury. And so that's absenteeism. And consistency will get you everything you want in life, right? Anything you want. Just put your mind to it and you'll get it. But you have to be consistent at it. And absenteeism is like, that's the kryptonite to that, isn't it? So like, I wish I could take my own advice. The advice I give to all my clients, like, is, it is more important to be consistent and safe than to go out on a limb and risk it all on this one session. I'm becoming a little better at those decisions. It's very hard to make that decision in a moment. Should I do the next run? Shouldn't I? Am I at the risk of injury? I know I'd like, because I'm still doing it. I understand in the moment, even you can't even trust your gut feeling. And I always say to my clients, I say, listen, I've never met a client who's wrong yet. And I say to them, tell me what your hunch is, what you think is going on here. I've never met one of them who's wrong yet. Apart from when you're not injured and imagine you're in a group and people are relying on you and it's a 5-a-side on a Thursday night means nothing. And you still do it. But the risk is crazy. But I don't ever blame anyone. Like I go, oh, geez, listen, to be fair, I probably would have made the same decision, knowing everything I know, and I don't know why, because it's so hard in the moment. I'm incapable of making a good decision in that moment.
So obviously you and I work in the same space, but from different angles, and we literally work in the same space. That's how we run into each other. Yep. We're saying that going for these sessions where there is an injury risk could be beneficial for your sports performance, maybe for your overall health. We'd still encourage these big sessions. We'd still encourage the big performances, but we also know that there's a high risk to them. And you said that consistency will get you anything. But if you're consistently ticking over 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, are we saying that that's still better than going for those big sessions intermittently? Like, how do we break it down for somebody? How do we give them the risk and the reward?
We come back to that. 60% of all injuries are training errors.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility, right? Even in a higher risk class, or whatever class you're doing, right? You have a responsibility to understand the group of people that's in front of you.
Sure.
Some of them are new, some of them are kind of going, a long time. Some of them, are consistent. Some of them turn up every now and again. And it's about helping them make an informed decision, right? So is a 7 out of 10 better than going all out? I think it is, right? But again, there's caveats on that, right? I think it's 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10. And then 1 in every 6, you want to be pushing an 8 or a 9. Drop back down to a 7, 7, 7, 7, 8 or 9. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think a 7 out of 10 over time is probably going to get you one if the contents of the session, right, are appropriate. But I see a lot of people who come to the gym and they want to burn calories. Abs are made in the kitchen. Calories are not for the gym.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, how many steps did you do? I don't know. I have no idea. Now, maybe I should count my calories. Maybe I should count my steps. I don't, because I'm too busy looking this way, right? In terms of, my KPIs, in terms of like, what's my 30 meter sprint time? What's my 60 meter sprint time? How many meters do I cover in my 4x4 Norwegian? What's my mass, my maximum aerobic speed meters per second at the moment? Like, I'm nearly 50 years of age, and these are KPIs for me. My deadlift, I'm desperately trying to get it to 1.5 times my body weight. It's not, right? Apparently due to absenteeism, right? And a lack of consistency and not strong enough, right? Which is hard for me to say out loud, because I'm small. I'm 5'5.5", 5'6", and therefore being strong, everything I do is a proxy for a lack of height. Do you know what I mean? A lack of confidence in myself. So I felt like, well, if I don't work hard and if I don't do this and I don't do that, then nobody's going to like me. Nobody's going to talk to me. Why would they talk to me? Do you know what I mean? Why would anybody, want to know me? Therefore, I'm going to have to be good at this. I'm going to have to excel at this. I'm going to have to excel at this. I'm going to have to excel at this. The 7 out of 10 is important, right? And then going up to the 9 out of 10. I think the ones who kind of turn up and now and give an all-out effort and haven't got, I think there's just too much risk. But if you're 26 years of age, right, I think the risk is minimal, because you can survive absenteeism. You can, right? You can get back what you lost very, very quickly, right? You can get it back.
Yeah.
When you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, if you're in your 70s and you fall, if you're in your 70s, so this, again, I'm not giving you my opinion. So if you're in your 70s, and that happened to my dad died within 18 months of a fall, and you fall, your life expectancy now is 12 months and less. That's how catastrophic falling is when you're 70 plus years of age.
What is it about the fall? There's stuff that you said, Johnny, just before this that I want to come back to if we can, but what is it about that fall that shortens? A
lot of stuff, right? So in terms of now you've got a period of immobility, right? So metabolically, right? So from a metabolic point of view, your mitochondria are going to be hugely affected. So now we're more risk of, because we become more insulin resistant as we grow older. Okay. So we're more susceptible to diabetes. Weight management now becomes an issue. Interacting with the world becomes an issue. Psychologically, there's going to be a huge, effect on your life, right? I might now not, if I broke my hip or my shoulder, I might now not be able to maintain independent living. So I might need assistance at home, or worse still, I might need to go to a care home. And now what I start doing is I start changing my behaviors. So I don't take the same risks. Maybe it was a risk, or maybe it wasn't a risk, but now my walking distance and time and speed goes down. So everything starts to snowball, and everything declines very fast now. It's like that, we come back to that statement of, geez, anyway, didn't he go downhill very quickly?
Yeah.
You know, because we don't have that resilience anymore. Weight-bearing status. So weight-bearing status, you know, if you put somebody in a cast or you put them non-weight-bearing and then you look at them from an osteopenia point of view, I mean, it's crazy. And all these things, you know, a systems approach like has a huge effect on your lifespan. I'm not just talking about your health span here. Like, so your health span goes down down the drain, absolutely.
Yeah.
But your lifespan certainly is affected. So I suppose the exact mechanisms haven't been written out as such, but I've given you the theory behind why, the theories that are postulated, why people's lifespan is dramatically shortened following a fall. Now, we don't know the exact mechanisms, and it's different for everybody, but that's what's postulated in the research anyway.
I wonder if there's something, a break, a fall, you know, particularly if a bone goes, is a very physical thing in time and space. But as you say, when your decisions change, your behaviours change, there's then also the mental aspect of it, the emotional aspect of it. You know, maybe you're starting to eat more than you would have, you put weight on, that then impacts further locomotion. This idea that you can't do anything for yourself, that could impact your spiritual health and sense of self. As you say, socially, you're not getting around as much. Financially, you're impacted because you need assistance. This speaks to the 6 pillars of fitness as we lay them out on the podcast. You know, that everything's impacted by a break at a later stage in life. Whereas when you're younger, you might be able to bounce back quicker, literally, but maybe you've got more of a support network. You know, maybe you've got a school or you've got your place of work to go to. But if you're retired, living by yourself and you fall, then that network's just not there. The support's not there. And I wonder if that plays a part as well.
Sure it does. I'm sure all of this stuff, the intangible stuff, like it's all important, isn't it? You know, like love is important to be able to give love and to receive love and, you know, have the confidence to do that as well. You know, and maybe confidence goes as you're growing older in terms of like, she's going to take that chance of, you know, being vulnerable and giving out that love and receiving. I don't know. It's it's a hard one, that one.
Similarly, the heartbreak in older age. So I would need a statistic on this, but I can speak anecdotally. In my family, when one of an older couple's gone, the others followed, you know, within a relatively short time frame, you know, maybe 6 to 18 months.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's something going on there, not dissimilar from the break, from the fall.
Yeah. Listen, I've read a lot about that and I've seen a lot of that, you know, anecdotally, and I'm sure there is a very strong statistic on that. I don't know what the statistic is, but I'm guessing it's high.
Yeah. Now we've got a hunch there.
Yeah.
The idea of you wanting to excel at things because of your relative stature.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a game of one, your relative stature doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you're playing with other people,
Yeah.
there's always going to be somebody faster, stronger, taller.
Absolutely.
And I think that perceived deficit or lack of then is the ego bit, isn't it? Yeah. And that's where we can get into trouble, and that's where injuries occur. But for you then to maybe look at the game differently as well, you know, Messi was tiny and, okay, with the assistance of growth hormone when he was younger was a little bit bigger, but still one of the smaller players on the pitch. And yet we would all want to watch a Messi if we're watching a game of soccer.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
I think also the way that you are in the teams without necessarily being on the pitch is important, that you're just as essential for keeping everything ticking over. So that idea of those who can't do, teach, those who can't teach Jim from School of Rock is a great line. The bit for us is that I might not be an elite athlete, but I enjoy watching people excel. And I enjoy helping people go from maybe a lack of confidence to confidence. But the bit that I see you doing is taking people from confidence and competence to, you know, professional, elite, like performance, which is where I'm trying to take it with my strength and conditioning and high rocks coaching. And that's exciting for me. So I think you can have those moments of self-doubt, but when you look at yourself in the context of the team, as hopefully you do with experience and wisdom, you see that you're just as essential as your star central midfielder or striker. Yeah.
Bit of work doing that.
If I were to shadow you, Johnny, at Not Physio, what would I learn over a month that maybe I don't now from the different people that you've got coming to you? What would the sort of patterns be that we'd see?
Look, I don't know what you'd learn because I don't know where you're starting. Your starting point is right, but I suppose, like, 'cause, you know, you might learn nothing, you might know all of it, right? I suppose, firstly, what you'd see, right, rather than learn, is that being a good person, right, is first and foremost, that's the most important thing to me in front of my clients, is that I'm honest. and that I'm punctual and I'm friendly and there's a smile on my face and I am committed beyond all belief to that person in that time, and there is nothing more there's nothing more important to me. Like, so there's no phone calls, there's no emails, there's no thinking about what I'm doing. Like, I'm engaged. I'm fully focused on this person. I am. People come to me because I am a problem solver. I am a problem solver. I solve problems. I refer to myself as, and I do it unashamedly now, because I've had to work. Look, I've told you why. I've given you the reason why. Isn't because it's a lack of stature, right? So I have worked so hard to be the best I can be at this profession. So I refer to myself unashamedly, out loud, to everyone. I've said it in so many videos, as the Sherlock Holmes of physiotherapy. So Sherlock Holmes, what he used to do was, when he had a case to solve, he clocked in and he never clocked out until the case was solved. And everybody else was clocking in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were clocking out at 4 o'clock. Whereas for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to help you. And I'm not clocking out of this until we solve this together. And I'm going to listen and listen and listen. I'm going to ask every question that's unimaginable. You're going to say to me, what is the point in this question? And it will be an interrogation in terms of, what am I missing here? The other thing is, when I work with anybody, I always come from the point of view that I am wrong.
Okay.
And I come from that point of view because it keeps me safe and it keeps my clients safe. It means that I'm always, because if I think I'm right, then it means you're wrong, the rest of the world is wrong, everybody else must be wrong, because I'm right, and I can't afford to do that.
No.
So I'm always like, okay, so I think it's this, right? Medial meniscus tear, but why is it not this? What am I missing here? Why could it not be this? Johnny, it's medial meniscus tear. Yeah, I know. That's what the MRI says. And everything is leading to this medial meniscus. Like, but what are we missing here? Johnny, really? Are we doing this again? Oh yeah, we're doing this again. We're going to the board, right? And we're figuring out why. Why did we get here on the first part?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was a contact injury, Johnny. He got kicked. I know, but why did he get there? What was going on there at that stage? Or he or she? So you would see that. You would see a level of teaching from a cellular point of view. Like, giving the person a why of what we're doing. Listen, I will die on the hill of movement. I'm dying on the hill, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of my pillars.
Yeah.
Right? Very important pillar to me personally and professionally. And it fosters a way into the other pillars as well. But I feel it's super, it doesn't cure everything, right? But it's super important for 95% of the people that I see. And for the 5% that maybe need to do something else, they need to do something else first, and then they come back to me. And so it's 100% important for 100% people. So I want to give them a rationale, a comprehension why. And I want to go down to the cellular level. So you'd learn that, or you'd see that. And that patients go out with like such motivation. Like, oh my God, I gotta do this. Not based on my opinion. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, I don't sit in the fence out either. Like, I'm not a shit house, so I'll tell them, look, this is what I do. Doesn't mean I'm right. Here's where all the facts are. Here's where this is. That's science. Nothing's perfect. You're always robbing Peter to pay Paul. There is no perfect scenario. None. Zero. And I tell them that.
Yeah.
And they go, should we be doing that? And I go, maybe we should. Maybe we should do it the next time. Maybe this is wrong. What? This is wrong. Yeah, maybe this is wrong. Johnny, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But then there's a level of, like, for the most part, I think, can't speak for other people, but I think that they like the honesty. And I think they like the transparency. I think they like the fact that I am very well read. And it's another thing that I can do. I can make these choices for lack of confidence in myself. And I can make this job as easy as I can for myself by being as well read as I possibly can do. And I have read my way out of every problem.
Okay.
Personally and professionally. But I still have plenty of problems that I haven't done enough reading around those ones, right? But I'm not saying I'm without problems. Everybody's without problems. Did I answer the question or not?
I think you said something interesting on the way to answering the question, because there's a second part of it that I want
Right.
to get into. When you're thinking about reading around problems, when do you know that you've read enough? When do you know that what you've got is enough for the next step?
I always get there.
Yeah.
Like, there's always a moment I go, that's it. And I know it.
Okay.
And I know it's that.
Because you've gathered enough and you can confidently say, or...
Bar none. Bar none.
Yeah.
there's a point where I get to and I go, that's it. And it is. That's it.
Yeah.
And then, things change. And I don't, maybe it is that I've read enough, or maybe it's that I'm sick of reading, or maybe that it's what that I want it to be it. Maybe that it's I believe it's it. Maybe that there can't be anything else. But 100% of the time, it is that, and it is the way out.
Did you know that each episode of Fitness and Thinking takes about 10 hours to put together, from getting in touch with the guests to hosting the conversation to editing and then promoting? And so far, there is not any sponsorship or funding going into it. It is just time and energy from yours truly. And I feel very fortunate to do it. But it only grows if people engage with it. And it could be to say that you dislike something as much as liking something. Even just leaving a thumbs up is better than no interaction at all. And subscribing is one of the biggest things you can do, so you don't miss out on all of the experts, practitioners, and generally great people that I'm lucky enough to get to chat to most weeks that we do this. I will also call out the fact that when Sherlock really had a problem, he called it a 2-pipe problem. So there's an amount of nicotine involved, I think, as well. But I've not seen you smoking around the gym.
No, I wouldn't smoke, no. Yeah, he's fantastic.
If we look at the people who come to you, what's the pattern of people? Like, what unites them, if anything?
An unresolved issue, right? So whether it's chronic pain or trying to, a surgery and then physiotherapy that's failed, or osteopathy or chiropractic stuff. I'm not calling out, because I call out physiotherapy first, right? I suppose they've got to a point where they've really struggled to get back to where they want to get to, So, because normally I pick up the phone to everybody, I don't have a secretary, and I go, listen, come here, you don't need me, but here's a brilliant person for you. And I do that about 8 out of 10 calls. Like I go, nah, you'll be fine. You don't need to come to me.
Yeah.
And then I get this one call and I go, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, that's tough going. And I have this feeling that I'm going to help him. And I go, yeah, no, I can help you. But if it's like run-of-the-mill kind of stuff, I go, nah, you don't need. Because I will only see 2 to 3 people a day.
Yeah.
I won't see any more than that. My day is around thinking time, around problem solving and all that. So I can't do that if I'm seeing 10 people a day.
No.
I can't do that if I'm seeing 7 people or 6 people or 5 people. And if you came to me and you were the 6th person to see me, like I feel like I'm doing you a disservice because I'm going to be fatigued and I don't want to be that in front of you. I want to give you everything I possibly can do. I worked in the NHS and got in trouble in the NHS, because I remember my line manager was like, she was going, you shouldn't be spending so long with patients. Your job is to get the waiting list down or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I said, but sure, look, I'm trying to help these people, and I'm helping them and they're getting better. And then she goes, that's not your job. Your job is to get them in, get them out fast and make sure they're not reliant on it. And she was under pressure. At the time I thought, Jesus, I was really angry with her, So of course then I rebelled and I was like, no, I'm going to spend as long as I want now with every patient. And I tell you what now, and I'm doing like that, right? And yeah, do you know what I mean? So it didn't work out great in the end, like, you know what I mean? So we clashed. And I guess it wasn't me and her that clashed, it was just me and the system.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That kind of, and even back then I used to even pick and choose. I was like, yeah, you're not interested, are you? You're not interested in getting better. You won't even turn up. I tell you what now, you go and see him there now. And then every one or so, I go, you want to get better. You don't have the resource to get better. You don't have the education to get better. You don't have, so I'm going to help you. And I'd book him back in my diary. Why are you booking that person back in your diary? Because they're going to get better and I'm helping them. No. I was like, and I'd have a fiver. And everybody, all my colleagues would laugh, of course. They go, there's Johnny again.
Yeah.
And I've never changed. Like I said, I should keep my mouth shut, but I don't.
So we got Sherlock Holmes, we got Dr. House, we got Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, Dr. House. I loved that.
Yeah.
I thought he was brilliant. I loved those characters. They were brilliant characters. I'm not saying I'm one of those, but I'm saying I loved that type of person. That was the person that I would aspire to be, if you asked me. I have friends who are incredible characters, and I don't want anybody to change them ever. No. Because they're just special people. Like, they don't conform. They're incredible. And yeah, I'd hate for someone to like influence that. Not that anybody would be able to, like, because they're just that far.
But you need both, don't you? For every Dr. House, you need a Dr. Cuddy. You need somebody who can see the picture outside of the individual, particularly when we're talking.
Oh, you do, yeah. House doesn't work without the rest of the lads.
No.
And neither does
Watson and
Holmes.
Holmes.
And I'm the same. I need the people who are polar opposite. Not they're brilliant clinicians who I work with, but they're very organised and they're very structured and they're like, and they pull me in line. I flatten the structure of the business, so I always go best idea wins.
Yeah.
So there's no boss.
Nice.
Because I would be a disaster as a boss. Like, oh my God. Like, I know I'm not a boss. Like, that is not within me to be that. And Paulina will tell you, and Grace will tell you, they will say that to you. Like, that'll be the first thing, and I'll go, listen, I'll hold my hand up and go, no, I'm not a manager. But I'm a person you can talk to about a case, but whatever a manager does, no, I don't do that.
I think it ties into what you said earlier on about, what you're kind of predisposed to in terms of injury risk, for instance.
Yeah.
So why would you keep on pushing that button when you could look at a different modality and actually play to your strengths, which is something that I think if more people acknowledge, they would have more success generally with things. It's more than half of my job at times. I spent 18 months online coaching and I really missed the in-person aspect of it. I dislike having to put stuff out on Instagram, or the feeling that I have to, because there are so many people who do that really well. And there are people I watch, and kind of like you, I'd almost say, go watch those people, because what I get a kick from and hopefully people benefit from when they work with me is the one-to-one bit, is that actual in-person, taking time, but you can't sell that. It's really difficult to sell that. So yeah, I try and play to my strength in that way, and over time, part of me coming back into a gym is so that I can spend less time online. If that makes sense.
And look, for that to actually happen, then you also need to pay your bills and you need to charge appropriately for that. Otherwise, it's not going to be in the world. And the same way with me, it's like, I'd love to do it for free, but I can't. No. And there's a price to somebody who's only going to take on 2 clients a day. My colleagues, not in my company, but in other physiotherapy companies, will see 6, 12, 15 patients a day. Fast-paced physiotherapy, which is brilliant for them, but not for me. And because of that, and what I'm prepared to put in, then there's a cost to that. You know what I mean? So it's more expensive.
Sure.
And that's that. But when I'm gone, I'm gone. Like when I leave the earth, that's it. Done. That's it. I don't think the world could cope with 2 of me with it.
It's town out big enough for the both of you.
Yeah. The world does not need more of me.
Last week, I caught up with an artist and now an art school teacher, and we kind of played with the idea that Picasso had, which was that adults might spend their whole lives trying to paint like children. And that suggests that maybe as we become older and actually as we live, we lose something essential. We lose like a joy or a way to express. I wondered, from a physio perspective, from your experience, if you noticed that in human bodies kind of over time.
Listed out a number of questions you wanted to ask me, just before, and you said to me, which one did I want to go with? And I said to you, no, you choose, right? That was the question I wanted you to ask me.
Why is that?
Because that's what the genesis of it all is what you lose from being a kid in terms of injuries, in terms of being from a physiotherapy point of view. It was like, when did we lose the variety in which we articulate in the world and how we move? When was the last time you did a forward roll, or did an army crawl, or did a backward flip, or skipped with your friend holding their hand, or played hopscotch, or jumped off a tree and then did an Eskimo roll into, like, do you know what I mean? Cycling your bike, going off a jump. Like, we don't do this stuff. So of course you lose it, don't you? And you lose that expressiveness. And I think that's the genesis, because we're like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't do an Eskimo roll in the gym. And one of the ways I get so I do a clinical running gait video analysis. So this is something I'm really passionate about. And getting, analysing people's running form and then getting them back into running. And skipping is how I get them back into running. Because it encourages short contact times. It encourages that stiffness within the Achilles tendon, encourages the ankle, the talocrural joint as an initial shock absorber, which we lose. And it brings back another way of an engram, which is a way of movement, or a way, into the body that we've lost. So I think that if we were, my personal opinion now, right? So I always said I'd tell you one is mine. I think finding those ways to move again, in terms of like rolling down a hill, whatever it was, right? Whatever you were doing when you were a kid, pretending to play cops and robbers, or whatever you were up to, right? You know, they're hugely important. Like that's you know, so I think my programs are built around that type of springiness, that type of bendiness, that type of tendon stiffness, that type of bounciness, the type of things that we did when we were kids, and getting back to that type of movement. And I think there's probably a sadness in the fact that we aren't able to do that anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I watched a video of my son 3 days ago, Saturday, whenever Saturday was, and it was like we were having a race, and he was 2 at the time, and so he was on a scooter and I was on a skateboard, and we've been racing each other since he's been 2. Like, we have been full on competition, right? Full on. And I was showing him back the video, and I asked him the question. I goes, "Who's faster?" And he goes, "Oh, Daddy fatter, Aiden not fatter," right? His name was Aiden. And I showed him, and I said, we've been doing this since you were 2, you know, we have been full on at it. And I'm saying that because he beat me in a 30-meter sprint on last week, like, and I'm like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? And like, and we got angry over it. Like, I said, you know, where you started before me, like, you know what I mean? No, I didn't. And like, we were like, then we had to do 10 sprints, like, to see who would, you know, come out on top, like, you know. And I'm getting angry, he's getting angry, like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we've been doing this since you were 2. And that type, like, moving like that, moving the way he moves, I look at him and I go, Jesus Christ, you know, it's brilliant. I love that, and I don't want him to ever lose that. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I think that's what Picasso says there, right? Oh my God, like, that makes so much sense to me. I can't articulate it, but I'm really glad you sent me that. I'm really glad you told me that sentence. So this is what I'm taking out of this. Like, my answer's terrible, but I've learned a lot now from that Picasso statement. I did not know that.
No, I think the way you've expressed it is wonderful. And also the idea that you've got your age, experience, wisdom, but compared to the youthful movement and joy kind of thing, there's always going to be that tension, isn't there? And maybe wanting what the other has, which ties us into, if living is the thing that maybe denigrates ability, or, you know, we kind of move away from the childhoodness because we got to live. You know, we move away from the naivety and not maybe thinking about movement. You know, then there's thought and there's labour and there's concentration and there's stress, and we take all this stuff on, which necessarily moves us away from being kids and towards adults, responsible adults, however you want to word it. Did our jobs impact us? Does wealth impact us? Would you see people in your clinic that are like, can you paint broad strokes and say wealthy people tend to have these sorts of injuries? People who maybe work more with their hands, kind of labourers, they tend to have more of these injuries. Is there like a class aspect to injuries which is interesting and maybe, you know, slightly spicy to ask? What have you noticed there?
And yes, you can draw some broad strokes, and no, you can't. In terms of, like, I'll start with what I know, and then I'll come, then just remind me of the stuff you said, because it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So sitting is the new smoking. Like, so I've never smoked in my life, but if you give me the option of sitting for 3 hours, right, or smoking 10 cigarettes, and I've never smoked in my life.
Yeah.
And it would give me the anxiety I would have around that would be crazy, right? And like, you'd be asking me to do a lot now. I would pick the cigarettes. No way I would sit.
You got to go into that.
Sitting is the catalyst for all the issues that we have got. We sit, we watch, we're sitting doing podcasts. We should be out in the open walking, but sure, the audio and the visual, I guess, isn't great, right? But we're sitting, right, doing a podcast. So that the hypocrisy of it is just crazy. You know, kills me, right? We sit when we watch television. We sit when we see our clients. Sometimes I do. We sit when we're eating. We sit when we go for a cup of coffee with somebody. You know, it's the end. Like, I mean, we are Homo sapiens, right? As our species. And before that, there was Homo erectus. So came out of the tree, stood up on 2 legs for the first time, and then was like, right, change environment. I'm going to have to run down my prey here, right? So I'm going to have to be a persistence hunter, a scavenger. And we became very good at doing that. We hunted down these big, huge animals because they couldn't manage the heat of the day. And then we hit them with stones and stuff like that, right? Spears and all that didn't come around. The bow and arrow didn't come around till 50,000 years ago. And we've been doing this for 2 million years. So we're good runners, right? And now for the first time in our lives, we sit down. So we're in this position here, and it is the number one reason why people come to me. Because I go to them, what's your job? I don't care how much they earn. I think what's more important than your bank balance is how often do you sit? How long do you sit for?
Yeah.
I think sitting is catastrophic for everything. For your mindset, for your weight management, for weight loss, for your strength, for your posterior chain, your anti-gravity muscles, for aging. And I guess that's why walking your steps is a good thing. I guess that's why calories is a good thing. Do you know what I mean? I guess that's why movement is a good thing and all. I think it's more it's an occupation thing, right? And it's a mindset rather than a class thing, I think. Because I see people getting injured in all different ways, that kind of way. You know, if you earn enough money, you'll get some skiing injuries. If you don't, you won't.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're like cycling injuries. Probably a person who's got some disposable cash, right? In their early 30s or late 20s and moving onwards. So there are different types of injuries like that kind of way. But I would say I'm going to see will be injuries because we sit so much that we now do not have this musculoskeletal alignment and necessary strength to tolerate the demands of the recreational stuff we do now. I'd like to go running, or I'd like to do my first couch to 5k, or I've signed up for a half marathon because I'm doing it for a charity and I haven't ran before and I've now got knee pain or ITBS, you know what I mean, and all that kind of carry on. So you got these new onset runners, adult runners, and you know, it just, you know, even though we've been doing this for 1.9 million years, it's still a relatively short period of time. We went from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens. But we got good at running and now we stopped.
Even if you were to do 10,000 steps in a day, for most people that would take 90 to 110 minutes, I think. The rest of the time, you're probably sitting or you're lying down.
Yeah.
And you're not working your muscles. You're just not fighting gravity. You've given in to gravity, basically. And that is endemic. It's crazy to think. When I moved to Nottingham, I was on my feet, so I'd been online coaching, like I say, and then back in gym, teaching classes on my feet for at least 4 hours of a day. And then I'll be doing my own training on top of that. And fair enough, some of my training is sat down using machines, but then amount of it became running. I think the changes that I saw in my physique were representative of somebody who spends more time on their feet. And I think when you look at athlete bodies relative to, you know, kind of more typical bodies, if we think also that 70% of people are overweight now in the UK and US, the difference is probably the amount of time spent moving on feet, you know, when we're talking about able-bodied people, but people who get around. If you're locomoting more, you probably look fitter, you probably have better health outcomes. I think it really is that simple. That's your movement piece. But then also the injury risk bit of if you go from nothing to 9 out of 10, if you go from nothing to suddenly try and do couch to 5k,
crazy.
Injury risk goes through the roof.
Sure.
So maybe it is a case then of you earn the right to do those intense sessions.
Yeah, but you can buy that off the internet or ChatGPT now. Your 6 week, like you can go, I'm doing a marathon I'm doing a half marathon in 6 weeks time. Put together a training plan for me.
Yeah.
It's not going to tell you not to do it. It's going to do what you asked it to do it. It's going to put together a marathon plan for you, a half marathon plan for you in 6 weeks, because that's what you told it to do, or to search on Google, or a company. We can do it because we're going to sell it to you online, right? So it's like, there's nothing like, come here, wind your neck in here, right? How often do you sit? How long do you sit for? What's your walking distance? All right, let's make this a little bit more realistic. Let's get this target within X. This target, again, comes back to training hours, comes back to like load management, comes back to absenteeism, comes back to what am I able to do? What am I doing at the moment? But like that will be another significant cohort that I will see, like a lot of running related injuries. But they'll always come back at me and tell me that, well, I can do this off Runna, Runna. Runna is the app I use, and it tells me, and I go, okay, right, what does Runna know about you? Only your $9.99 a month you give it. Runna's grand, like, you know, so maybe it is grand, maybe it isn't grand, maybe it isn't grand, maybe it isn't right at all. Maybe Runna should kind of go, come here, we shouldn't be taking that $9.99 off that person. Maybe maybe over the age of 40, we need to have more of a responsibility for people's health and understanding the catastrophic nature that absenteeism carries with it. And maybe we shouldn't be advising somebody, an adult onset runner, a new runner, to be doing a half marathon within a 12-week period. There's a call out for you.
I I'm smiling because, Johnny, my longest running client, so to speak, came to me because of a runner injury. They didn't really have much running experience, and they went to 5 times a week running, and their Achilles almost went. But they told me that they were having issues. I could see them limping. I was just like, what's happening here? Talk to me, what's happening? I've noticed that recently you started limping. I said, yeah, I've got this half marathon in Dubrovnik. I paid for the flights, paid for the hotels. I've got to do it.
Have to do it.
Okay, but I don't think the way that you're going about it right now is going to be the best way to do it, particularly if you can't make it to the start line because of how much you're hobbling right now. So we dialed it right back.
Yep.
It was how many steps can you comfortably do in a day rather than how many sessions can you get in a week. And we built it right back up from the minimum dose and got her over the line. But yeah, from 0 to 5 sessions a week, because like you say, that's what you put in, that's what you pay the app to do, but no consideration of the human, the stress, the sleep, the diet, everything that goes into.
It's a good business model, let me tell you. No. And I'll tell you why it's a good business model, because I'm looking at the camera here now. I'm looking at that camera here now, right? Because do you know what Runna does for me? Runna gives me my clients. Thank you, Runna, because you break more clients than I have ever known of all the apps I have ever known. It consistently breaks them. Mm-hmm. They come to me, these clients come to me, and they are absolutely positive they should be doing this, and the app looks great. Listen, great business model, right? Okay, but do I think that they should be doing it? Can I get, is this litigious, by the way? Could I get sued?
I don't think so. If you're saying it's a great app and it brings you clients, then that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's a great app because it breaks clients, so they have to come and seek me out, right? That's why it's a great app. It's not a great app because it helps runners. I think it's a great app for them because it gives them a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? That's is that litigious or is it factual?
Yeah, I mean, you and I have both benefited from people using an app and then becoming injured.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to why you can't necessarily always, maybe for some people you can, go to an AI or a pre-written plan for the best results for you.
I consult AI every day. I'm infinitely more intelligent now than I was 24 months ago.
Sure.
Like, I check everything that I do now. I've also been barred from ChatGPT for 24 hours.
For asking too much.
For telling it was terrible answers, right? Having go everywhere goes, Johnny, they're going to come and get you, or whatever. And so I think it's a brilliant tool, right? But, I'd like to think I'm smart enough to kind of not believe it in terms of like kind of just because it says that doesn't mean I should do that. It's a case of that I need to kind of give it a, more interrogation, it forgets stuff.
All the time.
All the time. I can't understand how it forgets stuff. I already told you this about this, and it forgets that, and I go, listen, and then I can't find where the thread was. Like, so sometimes it's a ball ache, and sometimes it's like it's very good. But I do consult it, right, for stuff I want to kind of double check. So I find it brilliant. I'm really enjoying this AI world. I feel like for the person like me now, it has leveled the board, right? The playing board. Now those people who are very organized, right? They don't have that in me anymore, right? My organizational skill, now that has helped me massively from an organizational point of view, because other people would outperform me because they were just better organized. They could send better emails and stuff like that. I could send an email as good as anybody else now because I have the help of AI. I can be as organized now as the people. I was like, God, I'd love to have that skill set, that organized skill set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like my organizational skill set, I've gone through the roof now because of that assistance, which must be absolutely terrifying for those who just had that, who weren't very good at their job but were very efficient. So I just go like to them once, I go, what are you like for swearing on this podcast?
Just as and when.
As and when. For those ones, then I go, fuck off.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's a performance enhancer, isn't it?
Ultimately. Yeah, it's a game changer for me. It's leveled the board for me now. Now, if you're organized, like you don't have that in me anymore, but you're not a very good physio, and you never will be.
And that's the issue, isn't it? If you rely on it to be the source of your individuality, your expertise, then it's never going to work. But if you have the character, if you have the experience, if you have the hard knocks, and then you apply it, then it can take you to the next level. Just like your elite athletes, they have to have the innate before they then push with other things.
The perceivement of Runna, the perceivement of it being, because it looks great, doesn't it? Yeah. The perceivement of somebody being a good clinician because they've just got good organizational skills. It's like, nah, not anymore. anymore, you know. But unless you, and the amount of physios that I know, I'm going to piss them all off now, because very few of them are average.
Okay.
Not even average. Like, average is a compliment.
What do you think is happening there? Is it that it's just an over-reliance on, as you say, the aesthetic rather than...
I don't know. I think that the university model is flawed. I think that students' expectations now are crazy. I think that there's so much there, right? I don't know. I don't know the answer, right? Is the truth? I said to you, I read myself out of every problem I had, and my reading has put a distance between me and my peers.
Okay.
Yeah, not my engagement in social media, but how much so that, and again, you can't sell it because it's a one-to-one model, so you can never make money out of it because you're reading for the person that's in front of you, and you're not making money out of 1,000 people, are you? No. You haven't got an app. You're not selling a product because it's your time, and that's finite. You know, so that you can never, you know, commoditize that, or if that's a word, but you know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah.
Monetize that, I guess. And then in terms of like the physios that I see, I just go, nah.
There's a strong kind of healthcare background in my family, from mental health to physical health. My stepmom is an osteopath, been in the game for decades, and she's not necessarily tribalistic, but she knows what she's about. You know, she's excellent. She's been fully booked for as long as I've known her, and she's turning people away. As you say, you can only see a certain amount of people in a day. She's never worried about pipeline.
Yeah.
And I think there could be like in-wars between physios and osteopaths. I'm not necessarily interested in that as much as it could be scurrilous and like a soundbitey bit. But when you think of average physios, I have an understanding of what an excellent osteopath looks like. What would an excellent physio do that an average physio probably doesn't get close to doing?
Spend time with the person.
It's just a time thing again.
Understanding the problem, responding to understand rather than responding to, like, you know, give their opinion. Like, it's a comprehension. It's like what do I need to do to help this person? Taking the time, reading the papers, putting the problem up on the board, you know, looking at all aspects of it. A breadth of knowledge and a depth of knowledge, cross-pollinating other disciplines, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in engineering. Like, I like working with other people from other backgrounds, because I'm like going, right, I would never have approached that like this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you talked about Picasso, right? And I'm going, right, maybe I need to do a little bit of reading into Picasso now, into what he meant. But like, that'll be my reading tonight.
Yeah.
What did he mean by that? Because I'm trying to articulate that to my clients. You know, so I'm like kind of going, right, I'm looking forward to this. You know, what can I learn from this gent? And how do I bring that into my world to help it? Right, I know when I see average physios, right, I just go, nah, you would never be able to help me. You don't have the time for me, you don't have the knowledge for me, you don't have the understanding, there's your manual handling skills, you'd never take, you just don't have it. There's nothing about you that I would say, nah, you couldn't tell me. I'd rather go to my whiteboard, I'd rather go to read and interrogate the papers, I'd rather someone interrogate me until I find the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question.
No, it's a tough one. So the issue potentially with the field, would you, if you wouldn't go to another physio, then would you trust a different field? Would you go to an osteopath or a chiropractor?
It's only a person I would trust.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't know what a physio is. I don't know what an osteopath is. I don't know what a chiropractor is. Like, none of these can survive. None of these professions can survive in the future. None of them. Physiotherapy cannot survive the way it's going.
Go on.
Well, because, like, it makes no sense. Osteopathy makes no sense. I come and get my back cracked, or a chiropractor, or I go to the physio and I get a resistance band exercises. It's not going to work, is it? I know that. You know that. It might help with diagnosis, but now I got ChatGPT and, you know, other AI models that'll probably get me to my diagnosis. I'm probably going to get a lot of suggestions on what I should do from ChatGPT. But, like, there are things that I do that it can't do, like an interpretation of all of that.
Sure.
Like looking at you and all the risk factors that surround you and how do they communicate. But that's not just physio. And that's everything else outside that you talked about, like occupation and having a family and, you know, a career, and other stuff gets in the way and we stop moving that way, and more stuff becomes more important. And, you know, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that? Like, you know, I don't know a textbook. You know, the biopsychosocial model is as close as we get to it in physiotherapy, which is like a module and a chapter in my book. But you know, it's more encompassing than that. Like, so you go to a chiro and you might feel better for a little bit. You go to an osteo and you might feel better for a little bit. You'll be end up going back to them. I've no doubt that your mother-in-law has the pipeline. There's no issue, because there's a reliance. I'm not having to go at your mother-in-law.
Amelia, stepmother.
Amelia, or your stepmother, Amelia, because it's just the way it is, right? Like, people are becoming more informed. They're not going to tolerate that. They've all got to change. Every one of them. They can't survive. I know they can't survive. Like, at some point, somebody's going to go, nah, you're not helping me, are you? You're actually not helping me, are you? Until they find somebody who does help them.
And that could be any discipline.
Doesn't matter. It's the person.
Yeah. So in this instance, it could be because Amelia invests the time in people and understands about the need to get in and out of tractors, for instance.
It's Amelia.
Yeah.
It's not her occupation.
No. It's Amelia, it's Johnny, it's the person with the person.
Yeah. But we get caught up on who is who. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think accountants, they're a disgrace. Disgrace. I hope my accountant doesn't watch this. I'll leave it that one there. Not my accountant's great. No, she is. She's very much. I'm joking. I'm just being funny now, that's all. Because I am funny, like.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come across funny on this, though.
Increasingly, people might go to then AI models for diagnosis. We use AI models in our work. You know, I put an amount of content out. I write a lot. Got an ADHD diagnosis recently. And I said to the diagnosing doctor, look, I don't know if I need stimulant medication or just an assistant sometimes. You know, just somebody to help me process and to step back from the thing and just bounce ideas off. Because there's so much going on here that actually just having a Watson to your homes, you know, a Dr. Wilson to your Dr. House, that could be what really helps me more than anything else.
You've got a good memory, you do.
Yeah. But it's a case of, I wouldn't just go to the model for the cure. I need the personal aspect of it. So obviously we want people to come to us, but we're talking about good habits. You know, you're talking about how sitting may be one of the worst habits that we've got. What's a habit that we could learn from elite athletes maybe, or from your background, that somebody could implement today? Now, I'm not talking about the cure-all. I'm not saying that this is going to take your life from a 5 to a 9 out of 10. But other than moving more, is there something from your experience that could help people?
I don't know if it's like an elite athlete thing, right? I know plenty of elite athletes and they're just piss poor, right? I think it's more coming back to the person again. But I think having a North Star, right? You know, figuring out what you want in life, right? Knowing what's important to you, write them down, you know. And then once you know what's important to you, emotionally, physically, spiritually, professionally, relationships-wise, geographically, financially, you know, you write this stuff down, then in theory, right, it should make it a lot easier to make better decisions rather than meandering. Yeah. Like knowing what makes you happy and brings joy and love into your life. And if you already have that in your life, what do you have to do to protect it? And if you don't have that in your life, what do you have to do to get it? Yeah. It might be, you know, going and seeing someone or getting some help or getting AI assistance or medication or whatever. Regardless of being an elite athlete or non-elite athlete, or know what you want, and then ruthless and relentless consistency and not putting it all in the line on one session. Diversification. Somebody who, you know, works on all the pillars will outperform every single time, no matter what, somebody who just focuses on one pillar. Maybe the pillar is movement, or the pillar is nutrition, or the pillar is recovery, or the pillar is sleep, or the pillar is, you know, love. You know, if you're just focusing, if you put all your eggs in one basket, like, you will fail. Yeah. Like, you know, so that diversification and understanding that it's a systems approach and redundancy. Like, if you look at a cockroach, I ask all my athletes to be like cockroaches, right? Because you can stamp on them and they'll survive. You can gas them and they'll survive. You can try and poison them and they'll survive. You can nuke them and they survive, because they've got multiple systems which protect the entity and keep it alive. So it's like they don't rely on one thing. They don't rely on a hard shell. If we've got a hard shell, that's it. And next thing all of a sudden they get gassed. They're gone, wiped off the earth. But they don't. They've got like multiple redundancies. So it's like, if you do this to me, I can survive this way. If you do that to me, I can survive this way. If you do this to me, if you take that away from me, take this away from me, take that away from me. So they're always developing those, as many survival strategies as possible. Yeah. So I think that diversification is important.
I think that's a huge thing to take forward. And I know we are both going to run back to the gym now. So where would you want to send people, Johnny, from here?
To knots_physio, right, on Instagram. I think the people I work with now, they do a lot on that, or they do a bit on it anyway. And that's probably a good place to start. And then, I don't know if there was any burning questions, might be getting in touch with me. You could do it that kind of way. It'd be handy enough to do it. Probably there, working a lot on the website, nottinghamphysio.com.
And in person, we're both at Everlast. So appreciate you, Johnny. Thank you for making the time.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. No, thank you. Been a pleasure.
Yeah. And all the questions that I have sent over, I think we touched a third of them. So I would like to leave it on this precipice.
100%. All right.
Cheers, Johnny.
Thanks, Jack.
Fitness and Thinking is a free weekly newsletter and podcast that is fascinated with 6 pillars of fitness: the physical, mental, social, emotional, spiritual, and financial states of being. And most weeks we're catching up with experts, practitioners, and generally great people to discuss the big and the small, the smart and the sometimes delulu. And every single chat has gone in a direction that I've not necessarily expected. If you want more of it, it would mean the world if you could leave a comment, say what you like, what you dislike, who you'd like on, what we've not covered, what we could have gone into more depth with. And if you could subscribe to see what we get up to based on your feedback. It doesn't matter how big or small these podcasts get. It's always going to come down to you watching it, enjoying it, hating it, and in any direction telling me for why. I've loved building it up to this point, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. And you're a massive part of that. So do engage with it. Do let me know when you see me or online if we've not met yet. Much love. I'll see you in the next one.